Welcome to this special online program celebrating the UN International Day for Biodiversity, hosted by the Environmental Initiative of the Brahma Kumaris World Spiritual University. This program includes a special greeting from Sr Jayanti, head of the Brahma Kumaris and a longtime advocate of the environment. A couple of beautiful songs from Indigenous voices from Australia and Canada. Our keynote conversation entitled Be Part of the Plan, celebrating Indigenous voices on making peace with nature. And an inspiring meditation commentary to bring peace to our relationships with nature and to ourselves. First, let's hear from Sr Jayanti.
Om Shanti, a greeting of peace to my sisters and my brothers. We are seeing the state of the world, and some people are now actually talking about having crossed many tipping points in terms of the environment. But we are also honoring biodiversity. And this year, World Biodiversity Day theme is Be Part of the Plan. And this is a call for all stakeholders to come together to halt and reverse the situation with biodiversity. Some people actually are saying that we can expect another pandemic because the loss of biodiversity is creating an imbalance within nature. And the imbalance, of course, then impacts the relationship between animals and humans. And so they're predicting that one of the major factors for pandemics is actually this loss. Some of you might be aware, but maybe not all, that the coming Montreal Global Diversity Framework that was adopted at the 15th meeting of the Conference of Parties following 4 years consultation and negotiation process has been set up to set a pathway to reach the global vision of a world living in harmony with nature by 2050. And of course, the SDGs are very much part of this, and so biodiversity supports the SDGs also. All parties are committed to setting national targets to implement this, and other actors are invited to develop and communicate their own commitments. And the next meeting, COP16, will take stock of the targets and the commitments. COP16 has a theme, Making Peace with Nature. It's something that all of us can be involved with. And yes, it is a government event, but also involves civil society. And civil society, of course, is seeing the impact of loss of biodiversity. If today we drive down a motorway in many countries, we don't see the insects on the screen that we did 5 years ago. Even as recently as that, the insects seem to be disappearing. The bees seem to be disappearing. And of course, these are the very visible impacts that we see. But it's happening across the world and in all corners and all parts of the globe. And so what can I do? Yes, I must try and reduce my carbon footprint. That is a major factor. But also, I know that there's another, more subtle way in which we can support nature and make peace with nature. Everything begins with the mind, with consciousness, with our thoughts. So can I dedicate a few moments each day, whatever time is easy, but what I'm doing at that time is focusing on my own consciousness, my own inner world, and creating an awareness of peace within myself, coming to the experience of the being of peace that I am, and sending out those vibrations to people so that we come together in harmony and peace, but also to all forms of life and nature itself, so that those vibrations of peace are able to help restore nature to its state of balance once more. The loss of biodiversity, of course, means that the imbalance of nature has also created much upheaval in all the elements. And so we are seeing a lot of natural disasters. And as nature comes back to a state of balance, by our sending vibrations of peace and changing our attitude to nature to one of non-violence and supporting nature with compassion and love and respect for nature, I know that this will be a major contribution to being part of the plan and coming back to a state of peace and harmony for the whole world around us, especially with nature. Thank you. Om Shanti.
Thank you for that message. This is an online program with people listening in from across the globe. But each of us are connected to and sustained by a different part of the earth. To honor that, we are blessed to have a wonderful welcome song to acknowledge this land. In a traditional Waka Waka Woolly Woolly medicine song presented by Janara Goring Goring.
So I'll do the acknowledgement to country.
Acknowledgement, yep. Thank you.
Everyone, because I'm Waka Waka and Woolly Woolly from the Jawan Jumbi Nation, and this evening, we are on Ngunnawal and Ngambri country. So I'll sing a song because I always do that for my welcomes and my acknowledgements. And this song comes from our Waka Waka country. It's a medicine song, a song about water. Canberra lives on the lake. We've got plenty of water here. It's a good song. Yamaway winya, yamaway winya, yamaway winya, yamaway win. Yamaway winya, yamaway winya, yamaway winya, yamaway win. Dibani wanya, yamaway winya, yamaway win. Yamaway winya, yamaway winya, yamaway winya, yamaway win. So I want to acknowledge the elders and the ancestors of this place, Ngunnawal country and Ngambri country to the east, Wiradjuri to the west, Gundungurra to the north, and Narragaow to the south. We thank all the ancestors and the elders of these places for taking care of country for thousands and thousands of years so that we would have the benefit of living and working and playing on it now and enjoying everything that it has to offer for us. Welcome all of you here and anyone who is First Nations from their own country and from this country to this event tonight. Uapalya.
Thank you, Janara, for sharing that song and its importance to all of us. Our next segment is entitled Be Part of the Plan, celebrating Indigenous voices on making peace with nature. The two panelists are Doreen Bernard from Canada and Juan Vacaz from Canada and Mexico. The conversation is moderated by David Fletcher. We hope you enjoy it.
Welcome to this conversation to celebrate World Biodiversity Day. I'm very happy to have two beautiful individuals with us today. Doreen Bernard, who's an environmentalist and water protector from the Mi'kmaq Nation in Eastern Canada, and Juan Vacaz, who's a spiritual ecologist in Montreal, Canada, with roots in Mexico. Unfortunately, Janara Goring Goring is not able to be with us for this conversation. Before we can start, maybe I can ask each of you what land you're on as we start this conversation. Doreen?
Kwe, Nindalosi Gasadam Dandalionui. We are on the unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq Nation in the Maritime provinces of Canada.
Yeah,
And I am in Sabaganagati, my territory, Indian Brook community in Sabaganagati, in our traditional territory here in Mi'kmaqi.
lovely. And I'm just about 2 hours away from where Doreen is in Antigonish near Buktinkek First Nation, also unceded Mi'kmaq territory. And I think Juan will share where he is.
Yeah, I want to honor the land where I am and where I've been living for 25 years, which is Montreal in Mohawk territory, which is Tiatohe. So Tiatohe is the Mohawk territory, the original territory of the Mohawk people, where we are in Montreal, where I am living right now. So acknowledge the land and the ancestors and the people, and as we are settlers of this land, and to keep honoring them.
Thank you. The conversation today is titled Be Part of the Plan, Celebrating Indigenous Voices on Peace with Nature, or on Making Peace with Nature. And we chose that theme because peace with nature is the theme of the UN Convention on Biological Diversity, 16th Conference of Parties, which takes place this year in Colombia in October. So today is a lead up today. And today, the 2024 International Day for Biological Diversity, the theme for the day is Be Part of the Plan. And that plan is a call to action for all stakeholders, governments, industry, business, NGOs, civil society, to halt and reverse the loss of biodiversity by endorsing and taking action to support the biodiversity plan, which was agreed to by 195 countries in Montreal in 2022. And Juan and I both had the opportunity to be present at that conference, and lots of negotiation going on, but finally a decision was made. And the plan has 4 overarching goals and 23 detailed targets. The overarching goals are, number 1, to enhance the resilience of ecosystems, halting extinction of species, and maintaining genetic diversity of species. Number 2, biodiversity is sustainably managed and nature's contributions to people are valued. There's like a couple paragraphs for each goal, but that's basically what it's about. Number 3, that the benefits of genetic resources and traditional knowledge are protected and shared equitably. And number 4, resources are made available from the international community to implement the plan. So they're trying to make it very practical, and no resources will be needed for that to happen. So those are the overall goals. For the 23 targets, I just looked at them quickly, and again, there's lots of detail in them, but targets, all of them talk about benefits for all peoples and all of nature. But targets 3, 5, 9, 19, 21, 22, all talk specifically about Indigenous people, Indigenous knowledges, and traditional knowledge. They talk about recognizing and respecting the rights of Indigenous peoples, customary sustainable land use, collective actions with Indigenous people to be successful. And they even talk about Mother Earth-centric actions. So that's brought us to today. And the reason why we're having this conversation today. And I want to start by asking each of the individuals a general question. So maybe Juan, we'll start with you. When you think of biodiversity, what do you think needs to be celebrated? Or what awareness needs to be developed or rekindled that's part of this celebration with biodiversity?
Well, I think biodiversity is in itself a celebration of life. It's expression of Mother Nature, of all these beautiful kingdoms of Earth, the plant, the animal, the fungi, the mineral, they're all part of this celebration of life. And when we realize that, the beauty of Earth and the beauty of every single component of this planet, that every single species, organism is playing its part to make this planet be so beautiful and to be in harmony with each other, with all the ecosystems. I think having this awareness that we're kind of like a multi-species community in where we all reciprocate in a way to enhance the well-being of each other in a way. And as humans and as divine beings that we are as well, we have this awareness of being conscious of all the relationships that we have with the natural world, and to understand that there are different living systems in this planet. There's the physical world, there's the spiritual world, and when we go deep and start seeing the confluence of these living systems, with this awareness, with this spiritual awareness, it can allow us to see the subtle connections that we have. We first start with our body, but secondary is the planet. Not secondary, I mean, it's less, but just to know that we have the body and then we have the planet. And when we start seeing these subtle connections, we can start taking care of the planet with more care, with more respect. And I think it's based on self-respect. When we start respecting ourselves, our own, when we start listening to our own needs, when we start listening to our voice of our consciousness, we can start having more self-respect for ourselves and therefore respect others and respect nature. So it's all based on how we see ourselves in this planet, our role, our awareness, our consciousness. And from that, we can start seeing, this interconnectedness of the planet and all species, and how we can have a very positive influence on it and contribute in reciprocity rather than be a consumers of life.
Mm. Thank you, Juan. That's beautiful. Doreen, for you?
Well, in our traditions and in our culture, there's words that we say that encompasses all biodiversity, all living, all things, all creation. We say Msit Nogama, which means that we are related to every living being, every entity, including the sun, the moon, and the stars, Mother Earth, our universe, everything here on Mother Earth. It has a spirit. It has a spirit, and we are connected to that spirit, from our spirit to their spirit. And we teach this to the children, to say that we are the same in the eyes of Creator as an ant, as a blade of grass, as a leaf on a tree, as a rock, as an animal, as a flyer, a swimmer, crawler. Yeah, so we think, when you see that you're related to the water has spirit. Water is a living entity. and so isn't the earth, you know. So we look at, when we say everything is important and connected, everything
Mhm.
has a purpose, and that spirit of that entity is connected to the spirit within us and everything around us. When we learn that we are responsible for them too, as they are responsible to sustain us, for us to be here. We are
Mhm.
responsible for them as well, and it's a mutual relationship, you know, that we have. So I think if people in the world were to see that connection, or were to understand that connection, there would be so much. It would be so different, you know, so much change in the world today. We see how human beings are being treated by human beings
Mhm.
today. And we see the impacts to the water, the land, the animals, the flyers, everything around us that is being where things are not respected and seen as a living being, or that has spirit. We're seeing how uh, how they are treated. Also, we have a word that we use, the doodling. You know, we take what we need from the earth, and we always leave something for the next generation. You know, we
Mhm.
all, with all that in mind, you know, that we are to leave what we use what we need, and leave it in a pristine way, the same way we found things to for the next generation to come. This
Mhm.
is the colonial version of Nadoodling. Nadoodling is a complex cultural concept that encompasses Mi'kmaq sovereign law ways and guides individual and collective beliefs and behaviors in resource protection, procurement, and management to
Mhm.
ensure and honor sustainability and prosperity for the ancestor, present, and future generations. To me, that's what I just said, that we leave, you know, we take what we need
Mhm.
in a sustainable way, in a sacred way, how we harvest things from the earth, what we use, and always with that mind that we leave something for the next 7 generations.
Right.
Yes, yes. That's more an understanding that I have. This
Mhm.
other, you know, this was probably written by an academic
Yeah.
that probably didn't really embrace that
Yeah, that idea of procurement
procurement.
is a different kind of relationship than the kind of
Yes,
spiritual relationship you've been talking about.
yes.
I was going to ask about, you know, is there a special relationship between the human species and other species? And you know, you mentioned about teaching young people that we're the same. There isn't
Mm-hmm.
anything special, but there is a responsibility. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's a really important way we all have to learn that there's a responsibility we all have to each other.
Yes, yes. And I think that is where we have been lost in that, just because
Mm.
these teachings were not uh, taught in schools. You know, they're taught in our culture, but when our
Mhm.
culture was forbidden to be practiced, and um, there was some disconnect, I would say, and bringing these teachings, about the spirit of the water. Water, for example, I'll give you an example. So it is understood that water is life. Water, we cannot survive without water. We need to respect the water. And how we do that is connect that water, the spirit of the water that's inside of us, to the spirit of the water that surrounds us. The water that, comes down from the sky, the water that's below us, underground, the water that's on the surface of and the water that's inside of us. We are 70% water when we come into this world. Our first world is water, where we're surrounded by water in the womb. And at that time, we can drink the water and breathe the water, and we become the water. And when we come into this physical world, we bring the spirit of the water with us, inside of us. And we're taught how connected the water is. It's a living entity. It can hear us, feel us. It knows our dreams. It knows our worries. It's with us all the time. And we honor that spirit of the water, and through prayer and ceremony, and protecting the water, but just speaking for the water. And when we speak for the water, we speak for all life that depends on water to live. We speak for those that don't have a voice, the plants and the trees and the rocks and the animals and the flyers and the fish and everything that needs water to live. And that's our responsibility. That's reciprocity, how we give back what we take. And I think that's really important. Those teachings, how the women are responsible for that, to take care of the water and to speak for the water, to carry that water all the time in a sacred way, and how we are on the front lines to stand, for the water, and to teach others about their responsibility, and that water is sacred, and that it has a spirit, and it is, without it, nothing can live. We cannot live without water. And so we see what's where everywhere's in the world where they do not have clean drinking water. So we see the damage to the earth and the water and the pollution, and what it causes to life that depends on that water to live. So we are witness to that, and everywhere. So it's not something that is to be taken lightly. The health of the water is the health of the people. And every living thing that needs that clean water to live. And so I think that's become a mission in our, for our women, for Indigenous women everywhere, not just here in Canada and the US, where they stand for the water, but every Indigenous peoples around the world are doing the same, in their teaching.
I remember the honor I had of walking with you on one of the water walks, and you explained it's not just the Bay of Fundy that we need to honor. It's every trickle of stream, every puddle in the gutter, every drop of dew on a leaf, that all of it is water that brings sustenance and has spirit and needs to be honored. And that's such a powerful message. Yeah.
And that water walk was when we walked from here to Maine. And that was part of that walk. Yes. It was really important for us to see that the understanding, where people came out to see what we were doing, walking by, with with the pail of water and the eagle staff and in prayer, and then being able to ask that, what are you doing? And then asking for prayers for their water, because realizing that their water was under threat, and wondering what they could do about it. This is what we could do, to walk with the water and to pray for the water and to do that ceremony until it was completed. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the understanding. I remember Grandmother Josephine Mandamin talking about the teachings, about the water. And one of the things she said was that the water, she went to a place where it was polluted and it was stagnant. It wasn't moving. It was just stagnant water. And she put tobacco in prayer and sprinkled her tobacco in her prayer of praying for the water and asking for forgiveness for it, for the state of that it was in.
Mhm.
And the water started to move. It moved, and it's like she said, it heard my prayers, and it started to swirl and move around.
Mhm.
So she said, I know it's alive, and that was really touching to me, like where her where she said that. And in another teaching, she talked about a prophecy that was told many years ago, and I remember in the 85 in Halifax, where an elder had come, and we were at a little gathering they had, and on what's the name of below the bridge, Africville.
Okay, yes,
So we had teepees down there, and we had this elder come, and he was talking about those prophecies that he heard. And he heard them many years before, where they said, one of these days, you're gonna have to buy bottled water. And I remember saying, I wouldn't buy bottled water. There's water everywhere,
yeah.
really naive. And the next thing he said was, there's gonna come a time when an ounce of water is going to be more expensive, worth more than
Yeah.
an ounce of gold. And he said that no matter how much money you have, you're not going to be able to buy that ounce of water because of how precious it is. And but because you can't drink gold.
Right.
And that's one of the things that really stayed with me, even though I hadn't heard it again until Grandmother Josephine came in 2017, and she was talking about that prophecy, and I said, I heard that before.
Right.
And
Right.
isn't it something where we are today in lots of places around the world where they can't even get clean water,
So
access to
true.
clean water. And so we're at that time, we're in creation right now, where there isn't any clean water in places around the world, where for animals, for humans, for life. And we have to protect the the water that is sustaining us, the drinking water,
Yeah.
because there's less than 2% or one of drinking water for everyone on Mother Earth,
Yeah.
every living being on Mother Earth.
Thank you, Doreen. You've given us much to think about, especially the precious role that water plays for each of us and for all of biodiversity. One, a homeopath and a naturopath. So you bring lots of different knowledges and wisdom traditions together. And I think that relationship between biodiversity and humans, and our role as humans or as souls on this planet is such an important one. Do you want to say a little bit more just about how you see the relationship between the human species and the rest of nature's biodiversity? Well, what's the importance in that relationship in your wisdom tradition?
Yes, I think it's based on, I guess, on respect, you know, the way I respect and honor myself, my body, how I take care of my thoughts, my own inner ecosystem has a larger impact on the greatest scale of things. You know, what's happening within me is a reflection of what's happening outside. In my tradition, you know, in Brahma Kumaris, we practice meditation every day. And we have this beautiful way of practicing meditation even with our eyes closed. So that allows to have to practice meditation while doing an activity. And while we do our things, our daily things, we become more conscious and more aware of how and why we're doing what we're doing. And we also add a different component when we link our attention to the divine. When we tune into that frequency, it allows us to have a different awareness in our actions, in our attitude. And by having that, we can actually start having a different imprint on this planet. And when I say imprint, is everything that we do has an impact on the planet. What we eat, what we wear, where we work, when we travel, everything that we do has an impact on this planet. And through this awareness, we can understand, with a spiritual awareness, we understand that the way we want to walk on this earth is in a way that is regenerative, that is sustainable, that is actually moving towards ecological harmony, towards respecting all life, to know that by adding these values, values in our actions, it can actually enhance our own personal well-being, the way we eat, how we eat, where things are coming from. I always give this example of like an apple. For example, I have the opportunity when I go to the market to select the fruits that are grown locally, or I can just be unaware and choose, for example, an apple from New Zealand. And when you live in Quebec, in Canada, when it's too far, you can see all the CO2 emissions and everything that it requires for something so little to come all the way to Canada, when I can just have maybe an apple from here, from the same region. So those little things, they might not look like a huge impact, but when everyone does, you know, the accumulation of little acts of kindness and regenerative actions, they can really have an impact on the world. So our human world can live in harmony with nature. And it starts by understanding, how can I live in harmony with myself, with all the different components of how I am, my identities. But it's true, I think this spiritual identity that allows to live more with equanimity and detachment, respect,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and peace.
Yeah. And I think, you know, you talked about how our actions as individuals, the kind of apple we choose, can have an impact on the environment. But I think also when we choose that local organic apple, it's probably better for the wellness of this body and our soul as well. So it works both ways. It's a reciprocal or mutual relationship, like you said.
Yes. So yeah, that's the beauty of becoming more aware of these little things, little actions that we can do every day. You know, the way we buy what we buy every day has an impact. You know, just that has already a huge impact on the planet and biodiversity.
Lovely. So they have these big conferences where they make these big plans and get everyone to sign their name that they're going to follow the plan, and trying to do something, I think, with with good intentions, and then they want all of us to be part of the plan to protect biodiversity, to protect the waters. But does Mother Earth have a plan? Like, is there a plan of Mother Earth's that we should be following? Or how do we contribute to these other plans that are being developed internationally?
You know, I think Mother Earth will heal herself. Mother Earth doesn't need us. We need Mother Earth. And so we need to think about how we take care of one another, how we take care of our nogama, all our relations. You know, we can't live without each other, but Mother Earth can live without us. It will continue to live, you know. So I think when they make, you know, United Nations and different entities that make those plans or those, you know, those goals, it's not just for one country or one, you know, one place to it's for, I mean, it's not just for one country to be able to change, you know, how we're treating Mother Earth and treating the, you know, everything around us, overfishing, over harvesting, over this and over that, you know, what that is, and how it affects, you know, a species. We have species at risk. We have species that are extinct. And how many of those are becoming extinct each day? You know, we are part. We are one of those species. We could become extinct before the rest of the you know, the species. And I think that we need to think like that. We need to think how, you know, how we're just one part of the whole creation, and what we're doing. And how do we hold those accountable that are making those laws, but are also allowing, you know, creating laws that allow for the destruction of a species, of the water, you know, of the land, creating more things. So we can't see where biodiversity is allowed in one place and not in another, you know, at the cost of mankind, you know. So our responsibility is to what we can do in our own lives, you know, in our own, what we have control of in our territory, in our where we live, how we contribute, you know, to the good, the better of creation. I think that's really important. We can't give up. You know, we can't give up.
No, we
No.
can't.
So I know where they say, you know, things are happening in one place. For example, fracking, you know, how that's destroying the land and the water, and so many places, everywhere. And it hasn't happened here. Well, it's happened in Nova Scotia in the past, and it hasn't happened since. And we can't allow that to happen here if we are to, you know, protect the land and the water and everything here for our future generations. I think it's very important, because we got to see, we have to, you know, learn from other people's mistakes. We have to learn, you know, we have that opportunity here, and it's a sacred responsibility for our,
A sacred responsibility.
yeah, for Mi'kmaq and for, you know, for our future generations.
Thank you so much. Very, very important, very powerful messages about responsibility and reciprocity and what we need to
Reverence for
do.
the land, yes, and the
Reverence,
water.
yeah,
Yes.
with all our relations. Juan, for you?
Well, what comes to mind is an experience that I had. And you know, you don't have to travel to another beautiful part of the planet, but sometimes it can happen in you know, there's a park near to my where I live. And one day I decided to meditate next to that tree. It was probably the oldest tree in the area. And somehow I was meditating and I was trying to, you know, connect with myself, connect with my awareness of, you know, what is this consciousness telling me? What is this energy, the divine energy that we can tap into? And rooted in that consciousness and that awareness and that peace, there was a little branch that came from the tree and it fell in my book.
Hmm.
And so I opened the book and I decided to open it, you know. It's like, okay, I felt like it was like a signal of the tree or the energy of the place calling me or talking to me. And when I opened it, there was a beautiful word called orenda. And orenda was or is what the Iroquois people, the people from this region of Canada and the United States, um, they name orenda, or they had this word orenda to name all the energy that permeates all living beings, which is very similar to what in India they will call prana, you know, this energy that we breathe and it's all around us. And I thought it was really beautiful that by connecting to the tree, connected to the land, I was able to connect to the wisdom of the indigenous people in this land without having the connection with them, you know, with having an elder or someone talking or sharing those experiences. I had actually nature, you know, connect
Mhm.
me to that book, and that book, you know, inviting me to learn more about, you know, the people who are here before us. And so I think nature has a plan of reminding us that we have to connect to the land, to where we are. That's why we started this session by remembering, you know, our, you know, the indigenous people who are in these lands and where we are in our cities and our communities, because it's an invitation to reconnect to these cycles of nature. When we reconnect with the land, we reconnect with the original people. When we reconnect to the original people, it reminds us how they live in harmony and more in tune with nature. And also in peace. I was just very surprised also how Benjamin Franklin came to this part of Canada, or how they were able to learn from the indigenous people of this part of Canada. And actually, they base the American Constitution and how the indigenous communities of this part of Canada and the United States made peace, and how this peace treaty helped to influence and make the American Constitution. So all based on peace, all based on harmony. And I think being part of the plan is also making peace with each other, making peace with ourselves, making peace with the people of the lands over here that we live in. So it's all connected, I think, and nature has its plan of remembering us that we are original beings, pure beings of peace. So on its energy and on its influence, we can remember that we are also spiritual, peaceful beings.
Beautiful, thank you. Lots about peace with nature and about harmony and how we need to make that the center of the relationship we have with nature. Maybe just a final question, a short, snappy answer, if you can. If a 10-year-old asked you, how do I make peace with nature? What would you say? What would you say to a young person? How do I make peace with nature?
I think you start making peace with nature by understanding, by listening to nature. what is nature telling you, you know? And I know it's short, but I will say it. I went once in Mexico in my it was in Mexico we celebrate the 15, like my sweet 16, but it's my sweet 15. And it was my cousins, and I didn't want to go, to be honest, to that party because it was gonna be very young people. But my dad told me, go, you're never gonna know who you're gonna be sitting next to, or you never know who you're gonna meet. And it was actually a 10-year-old boy next to me who was so eager to learn about nature and climate change. And me being an activist, I was able to share all this experience to this little boy who was very conscious and aware of what's happening, what is happening in the world. So yeah, life can give you surprises. And so yeah, I will say the same kid, listen to nature, and nature will tell you that we're original beings of peace. Yeah.
Well, what I think is that they see themselves as a part of creation, and see that they have responsibility as a human being, because we have the ability to think and to change and to be responsible and understand. What I tell them is, think of that glass of water that you gonna drink. Tell the water, I love you, I thank you, I respect you. And tell the water, it is your life, it gives you life. And thank the water, be grateful for the water. Make relationship with that water and connect your spirit to that spirit of the water. And then you will feel that. You will feel it. You will become that, And I said, and that's how you look at other things in the world, the other everything around us that is alive and has spirit, and how you develop that relationship. That's your prayer. You develop your prayer in how you want to be in this world, and I would say that would be, it's a beginning, it's a beginning as a 10-year-old learning to have that love, respect, and thankfulness, gratitude. Those are the things that I think the most important things that he would need to learn. Anybody needs to learn. And I taught this concept of Msit Nogama to kindergarten.
It's great.
I put a little tape around their wrists, a little double-sided tape. And we went outside, and I was telling them how we're related to everything that around them. So they were putting a flower and a rock and a bug and things on their bracelet,
Oh, cool.
their living bracelet. And they were calling it, that's my relation. That's my cousin.
That's great.
And I said, if 3-year-old and 4-year-olds can get that concept, then anybody can.
Yeah.
And it was so special and so beautiful to see them feeling that the connection and wanting that for and I thought, they're so pure thought and mind, how they see things and see their world. And it was so beautiful. And I think that's where it needs to start.
Yeah.
And then by the time they're 10, they know. And by
Yeah.
the time they're us, then they know how to do it and what to do.
And the healing process maybe for some of us is just to clear out all that other baggage we've accumulated and go back
Yes.
to that pure state where,
Yes.
yeah, we recognize all our relations.
And how important it is to protect them
Yeah.
and stand up, speak, and be. Yes.
Yeah. Respect, love, and gratitude. Thank you so much. This was beautiful.
All right, thank you.
Wow. Thank you all for that stimulating discussion. There is certainly much wisdom in Indigenous knowledges about making peace with nature. We now have a very special treat, a sacred water song presented by Doreen.
We honor and respect the water as our first medicine. All life needs clean water to live. When we are in the womb, we are in the water, and we are able to breathe the water, and the water nourishes our body and protects us. With that gift comes a responsibility to protect the water. When our water is not clean, our plants, our medicines, our food, everything is affected. We need water for all life. All life, all these plants, our food, our medicines can't grow without water. We always give thanks to the water. The water is first. Water is life.
That was beautiful. Thank you, Doreen. And there seemed to be much that was similar between Doreen's song and Janara's song earlier. Thank you both again for being part of this celebration. We now want to invite you to spend a few minutes in meditation with a beautiful commentary honoring biodiversity by Valérian Bernard of France. Please get in a comfortable position, relax, and stay alert for this guided journey of gratitude and going within.
Sitting in silence, I open up to the world around me. First, I can feel the closest to me, the air on my skin, the earth under my feet, the light surrounding me. And I feel so grateful for all these, for the generosity of Mother Nature, the provider of life, an unlimited provider of all the amazing beauty and matter for the whole world, all species, and each individual. In that space of silence, I visualize the amazing fabric of interactions that allow life to flourish. The water, the earth, the amazing light of fire, sun, everything combined provides support for life. Each single atom of nature is precious. Flowers and grass, insects, birds, animals, humans, rivers, oceans, mountains, everything, every single entity provides its own fragrance, its own energy, and everything combined allows life as we can see it around us. In this space of silence, I now reconnect to my inner world of thoughts and feelings, my inner world of powers and virtues and memories and past and hopes. In silence, I reconnect to my heart. Not so much the wonderful pumping machine that allows blood to circulate like an incredible river inside the amazing island of my body, but the heart of the soul. This amazing capacity to love, to feel love, experience love, and express, experiment love. Just like compost nourishes the earth, who nourish the plants, who nourish the animals. Love is like an amazing soil that nourishes the soul, the mind, the hopes, the conscience, the awareness, and beyond me, the conscious being. I can sense the presence of an unlimited source of love, an ocean sun-like of powerful unconditional love. And as a conscious being, I can channel this amazing light and power into my awareness and spread it around to each single atom, species, to the variety of plants, insects, to the soil, to the waters, the clouds, to birds, the flying in the skies, the rain showering my hair, the light warming up my face, the beauty surrounding each instant of life. Each one of us is like an instrument, spreading its melody around. A flower spreading its fragrance. A candle spreading its light. A cloud spreading its drops. The more I am aware of the combination of my inner world, I am free to spread the energy that is unlimitedly useful, beautiful, and beneficial.
Thank you all so much for being here. This brings our event to a close. Thanks again to Sister Jayanti, Janara, Doreen, Juan, and David, and to Valerian for that beautiful commentary. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes that made this event possible. And thanks to nature, the water, the land, the sky, and the beauty of all the world's biodiversity. May we find ways to make peace with nature and to be part of the plan. Om Shanti.